Hello and welcome to my weekly comic video. Apologize for not posting a video for last week. Things were a little crazy and I couldn't get it out on time. The bright side, last week was a very small week with really nothing of note. But let's quickly go over 3 comics that came out during my missed week before tackling this week's comics. First, Avengers vs. X-Men number 7. Marvel's big summer event continues, and it is exactly what you would expect. I went over the backstory a little in issue number 1 of my weekly videos, and the current issue number 7 doesn't change my view on the story. Heroes fighting heroes is old, and just like Civil War and every other time this happens, it only works because one or both sides are complete idiots and generally very much out of character. This special is nothing new from Marvel, which is just a big slow build-up to a rather disappointing ending. Don't feel bad about skipping this event. Second comic is Invincible Iron Man number 520. This issue continues the story which I also covered in issue 1 of my videos. I don't want to say too much or spoil it for anyone who hasn't read it yet, but this is a must-buy for superhero comics. So much is going on and so much happens in each book that it is hard to believe that this is coming out from Marvel. It is also one of the few books that seems to reward the people who had been reading the book since the start of the volume. Not that it is a requirement, but it is nice to have everything be related. If you are looking for a book to add to your list, this is worth the purchase. Just remember to pick up issues 516 through 519 as well, so you can start at the beginning of the current story. Last comic for my missed week is Amazing Spider-Man 689. Amazing Spider-Man is my biggest comic run I have. Add in all the sides and miniseries, and I probably have more Spider-Man comics than any other comic character. It saddens me that the series has gone so downhill, and no, One More Day wasn't the nail in the coffin for me. I suffered through that and actually did have high hopes for Big Time. But sadly, after the first few stories, it became just retellings of what had happened back in the old days, and I had to stop collecting the series. I will go more into the character and why I hate the direction it is going in my Spectacular Spider-Man movie review, coming soon. But suffice it to say, it just isn't worth the money anymore. 689 continues the story, which tries to be as relatable to the movie as possible, but just continues to be more of the same. Even for Spider-Man fans, I can't recommend this series. If you want your Spider-Man fix, I got a better option later in this review. Other than that, get the graphic novels as they come out. At least you won't be paying full price that way. Now, on to the comics for this week, and it was actually a pretty good week. First up, Batman number 11, the epic conclusion to the Night of the Owl storyline. Batman got something of a jolt during the DC relaunch. Out of the 52 titles, 13 of them involved Batman or a member of the Bat family, and that isn't including Batman Beyond and Batman Incorporated, which wasn't officially part of the initial 52 launch. And so far, with a few exceptions, out of those 13 titles, the Batman-centric titles are the weakest of the bunch. The Dark Knight is simply there as a cash-in series, really doing nothing for the character. And Detective Comics went way over the edge in terms of dark and discouraging material. Batman and Robin is probably the strongest one out there, despite my problems with the book mentioned in my previous videos. Batman, the series, is sort of that middle of the road between The Dark Knight and Batman and Robin. The series so far has been solely about the Court of Owls, building them up and then concluding the arc in issue number 11. It has been hit or miss in the series so far. Probably the biggest complaint is the non-engaging pace and concepts. It seems that the group is trying to mimic the Grant Morrison style, which was being done pre-reboot, but not quite making it there. With the Night of the Owl story finished, we will see where the book actually goes. As for the Night of the Owl story itself, it was just okay. I really liked some of the side stories. In addition to the ones I normally pick up, it piqued my interest in the Birds of Prey series, which is what it's supposed to do. The biggest complaint I have of the story is that despite how powerful the Talons in the court were made out to be, they never really had a win. If you have been interested in the story by picking up books outside of the Batman series, then issues 9, 10, and 11 are worth it. 11 finishes the story somewhat unceremoniously, but it does introduce elements that will no doubt return in the Batman universe. Second comic is Defenders number 8. Now, talk about a series that went down the toilet. The original Defenders was a great series, full of great stories and adventures. The series' main characters started off Doctor Strange, Hulk, Namor, Valkyrie, and Nighthawk, and would later add in the Silver Surfer and a host of other characters. The formula was generally a unique group of heroes would come together to take care of a problem. Sort of like the Secret Defenders series, but with a common theme throughout. Volume 2 was a little more campy, but still very enjoyable. It followed the same formula as the original, with mostly the same group of characters. Both volumes are well worth a trade purchase. Volume 3 took a pretty big nosedive in quality. Its roster was cut to just Doctor Strange, Namor, Hulk, and the Surfer, and it was just a single story, hardly worth the money to purchase. Then came Volume 4, the current series, and it doesn't come close to the previous series. The series' main characters are Doctor Strange, Namor, Red She-Hulk, the Surfer, and Iron Fist. I have nothing against the characters individually. In fact, the Surfer is my favorite comic book character out there. However, the writing is horrible. The story is boring, and there is no chemistry between the characters like it once was. You don't have the side characters like Valkyrie and Hellcat to counterbalance the team, and you don't have a story or conflict to warrant such a powerful group of people. If you are a fan of the old series, stay away from this one. If you are a fan of the characters, you probably still want to stay away from this one. Hopefully it'll get better as things move along, but I wouldn't hold my breath on it. Third comic is Wolverine and the X-Men number 13. This is something of a unique book. I was never really a big X-Men fan. I would always try to get into the books during a really bad storyline, and really not staying on board. I really tried to get back into the X-Men books again in early 2000s and enjoyed them for a time, but then came Scott Lobdell. Let's just say I don't like his work. He was okay on his short run of Fantastic Four, but his personal beliefs started to show themselves in his comics, and it didn't really help matters. Also, FYI, if you don't like the new Red Hood and the Outlaws, Superboy, or Teen Titans series, you now know why. A few books in Wolverine and the X-Men that I have read are rather entertaining. It sort of reminds me of the old Chris Claremont era a little. Sadly, number 13 is part of the Avengers vs. X-Men event, but so far the related issues in this series have actually been far more entertaining than the main event. If you are an old school X-Men fan looking for something modern but with the old style, then this is a series that you would want to pick up. For those picking up this book to kind of just try it out, make sure to pick up number 12 as well, since it is sort of a continuation of the storyline there. The last book I want to cover this week is something of a surprise pick to me. Mega Man number 15, published by Archie Comics. This series may be overlooked due to its somewhat kiddie nature, but I have been very impressed with the series thus far. As of this video, I haven't read the first volume in the series, but so far I have been enjoying the second volume very much. In issue number 15 alone, more happens in it than most comics from the mainstream publishers, and it is a $2.99 comic as well. The artwork is done very well, and if you have played the games, then there'll be plenty of familiar faces, making it easy to pick up. Back issues can be hard to find, but there are several trades out, and I would highly recommend picking those up, and adding this title to your list as well. An honorable mention for this week, Essential Web of Spider-Man Volume 2 came out this week as well. Web of Spider-Man is probably my favorite Spider-Man series. It's full of great stories, and it even changes things up throughout the series, keeping it from getting dull. If you are wanting a Spider-Man fix, then I highly recommend this collection of comics. If you can, I would also recommend tracking down Volume 1 as well. Both books are well worth the money. And that will do it for this week. Sorry for the length, but had a lot to cover. If you have any questions or comments about any of the books mentioned or others that came out this week or last, please leave a comment below. As always, thanks for watching, and God bless.